Alright, hey, you guys are probably wondering, why have you not been posting a lot? You know, you basically have almost gotten to a whole K without posting. Yeah, I know, that's fucking crazy to me. Yeah, sorry, like, that's all I can really say. I've just been, like, not really doing shit, not gonna lie. Because I'm a lazy person. But also, you guys are crazy. Alright, I checked this video and you're at like 28K, like holy shit. I didn't think this series would be this popular, like legit. God damn. Well, you guys didn't come here to have me talk about how amazing you guys are, because you already know how amazing you are. But now, it's time to talk about the what if. So last time I left off, Deku, he went to bed, didn't check the date or time or anything. So Deku, he gets up, he stretches out. He notices that he's like sweating a lot, like a lot. And he's like, the hell? And you know, his breathing is heavy and stuff. But he's like, I'll be fine. Like, you know, because he thinks he maybe has a fever, but he knows that like, usually he's able to get through him just because, you know, he's strong like that, I guess. I don't know. Basically, but he remembers that he got a flu shot not too long ago, so he's like, it can't be a fever. He's like, well, maybe it is, though. You know, because sometimes even if you take a flu shot, you'll still get a flu. But, what's it called? So, he basically puts on his shirt, he starts stretching out, and he gets ready to go. So he's walking into school, right? And, you know, he's still sweating a lot, and he's like walking lazily. Like, you know, with his, like, back going down, like, how to get back problems 101. Like, yeah. So he's walking like that, and Monoma walks up to him, and he's like, what's up with you, trash 1A? And Deku looks at him, he's like, hell out of my face. And then he walks away. And, what's it called? Monoma's like, what? He thinks he's better than me just because he's class 1A, yada, yada, yada. Deku doesn't really give a shit about what Monoma thinks. Alright. So, like I said, Deku doesn't really give a shit about what Monoma thinks. Then after that, Deku starts walking, he gets into class, and, you know, he's looking around, and he notices, like, that, like, some of the girls in class are looking, like, a lot better than they were yesterday for some reason to him. And he's like, okay, that's not normal. So, he basically realized that, oh... Why do I yawn whenever I do what if? I don't even yawn anytime else except for when I'm doing these videos. But basically he realized like, oh no, it can't be like that. So he pulls out his phone because he has a phone now. He checks the time and he sees the date. He's like, oh shit. He's like, should I tell him? He's like, no, but he'll tell me not to come. So basically, after that, Deku decides to not tell Aizawa or anybody about what's going on. He just sits down, right? And, you know how animals are when they're, you know, in their... Like, if you don't know already, he's in his mating season. And you know how animals are when they're in their mating season. They're hostile towards a lot of things, except for, like, females sometimes. And, even then, like, you know, they're very territorial, so... Basically, Bago, or not, who would walk up to Deku? He's sweating like crazy, so I'd say Momo would go to check on him. Momo walks up to Deku. She's like, Midoriya, are you okay? Deku looks at her, he's like, I'm fine. And then, you know, basically, she's like, another thing, why is your tail wrapped around my ankle? And then Deku looks, and he realizes that his tail wrapped around her ankle, and he's like, oh, sorry. And, you know, he tries to, you know, make it stop, but it's not listening, because his tail basically, you know, it listens to him, but, you know, like I said before, cats, sometimes their tails do their own shit. So, basically, he's just like, yeah, sorry about this, and, you know, he just goes over and just, like, forcefully takes his tail off of her and holds it. So now, like, his tail is, like, wagging, like, trying to get off of, like, Deku. Because it wants to get to the nearest female. But, Deku's basically like, nah, I'm not doing this with this tail today. And, then a few more people walk up, a few guys walk up. They're like, hey, what's up with you, man? Deku's like, I'm not really in the mood right now, because, to talk, because Deku really doesn't want to talk to anybody right now. Then they're all like, okay, and then they're all wondering, like, what's up with Midoriya, or, no, not Midoriya, they would call him Izuku. What's up with Izuku? Or Sho, they might call him Sho, because that will be his last name, I guess. So, after that, Deku, he gets up, because they're going towards the bus, because remember, like I said before, they're going to the forest training camp, because that's what I replaced what's called the USJ with. So they're going to the forest training camp, and they're sitting on the bus. Deku's sitting alone, because he asked everyone to not sit with him. Basically, Sue, she gets up, and she's like, what's up with you, Midoriya? Deku's like, don't worry about it, I'm fine, yada, yada, yada. So they get out of the bus, right? Because they finally make it to the area they made it to before in canon. They walk out, and everybody's looking around, right? And then the wild Pussycats show up, just like in canon. But basically, like, when Deku sees the females from the wild Pussycats, he's like, shh. Like, he's like, I'm about to do something I regret, So he backs up, like, away from, like, the rest of the class. Like, but nobody really notices it, because he was already, like, in the back. So he just, like, stays back there for a little bit. And then after that, like, they're talking, yada, yada, yada. And then we'll say Pixie Bob. Pixie Bob notices Deku's, like, lagging behind. Like, he's against the hill right now. Because you remember how it used to go. There's, like, a hill that goes down. And then there's a road. And then there's a hill that goes up, right? He's, like, against the hill that goes up. Like, his arm is against it. And he's still breathing pretty heavy. So Pixie Bob thinks he has an issue. So she walks up to him. She's like, are you alright? Deku's like, yeah, I'm fine. Just, could you back up a bit? Pixie Bob, she doesn't, like, she thinks that Deku's, like, one of those kids who are, like, just have an issue with people being, like, just, like, teachers and stuff like that. She's like, what do you mean? Like, Deku's like, I don't like it when you're that close. Could you please, back up? Now she's like, do you have an issue with me or something? Like, she's getting up close to him at this point. And Deku's like, basically, she gets close to the point where Deku's head is just basically like, bro, just do it, like, like, in his head he's like, but if I do it, then, it'll stop, right? Like, because at this point he's trying to justify it to himself, and he's not focusing, right? And then now he's focused, and Pixie Bob's like right in his face, and he's like, fuck, like, he's like, well, looks like there's no avoiding it now, because once she got to that distance, there was nothing that, he could do. So he grabs her, right, by both hands, spins her, right, puts her to, like, up against the hill, and then just, just lip to lip, tongue to tongue, immediately. Basically, no one was really paying attention. Then, like Ragdoll looks over, and then she's like, the fuck? Like, because you look away, and then all of a sudden your friend is just getting, like, pinned up against the wall and made out with. And, at this point, Pixie Bob, she's red. Deku, he's full on, like, in, like, lust mode. Not gonna lie. So after that, like, Pixie Bob was like, Mandalay, you might need to get him, like, Mandalay's like, what are you talking about? And then, she sees that, and she's like, the hell? She heads over there, right? Basically, at this point, Deku let her Pixie Bob go. And Pixie Bob, she's KO'd, not gonna lie. So she's just knocked out. Then Deku, what's it called? Deku looks towards Mandalay. Mandalay's like, why would you do that? Yada, yada, yada. She's walking up to Pixie Bob, like, are you okay? Then she goes up to Deku, like, why would you do that? Yada, yada. She gets in his face, and then, she gets, like, her, like, her waist pulled in by his arm, and his hand is, like, to the back of her head, and basically, like, what Dio did to, what's her name? I forgot. But, basically, that happens for like a solid 5 seconds. And at this point, everybody's looking at Deku. Aizawa was like, the fuck is wrong with you, problem child? And then Deku, basically he lets go of her. She falls like to her knees, and then after that, she passes out because Deku's just knocking bitches out. Then, Tiger, at this point, Tiger has been laughing. Do I want to say his or her? Because I don't know what Tiger identifies. One person said Tiger is a trans, and what's it called? So I'm gonna call Tiger her. I'm just gonna say Tiger. At this point, Tiger is laughing his or her ass off. All right. Basically, Tiger says, "All right, you go. Go." Pixie Bob, she's like, what do you mean? You go, like, Tiger's like, go, like, they attempted, they've lost, now you go, it's your turn, go now, basically, Tiger, Pixie Bob, she's like, why me, why not you have the strength quirk. Tiger's like, because it's funny if you go, now go, and he pushes her towards him, right? At this point, remember, his quirk, like, makes him pretty strong. So he pushed her, and, like, she's up against his chest now. So she looks up at Deku, and, like, Deku just has the fucking hard eyes, like, at this point. So then he just grabs her by the face, and, that happens. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You already know what's happening. And, he lets her go. The three Wild Pussycats are just knocked out, and, Tiger's laughing hard, like Tiger's laughing like there's no tomorrow. And basically Aizawa, he's like, the fuck is going on with you, problem child? He wraps him up in the capture tape. Deku's breathing heavy now. He's like, oh my, he's like, damn it, shit, because now everything's registered to what he did. So basically Tiger picks all, them three up. He puts them in the bus, and he's like, you guys just go, like, run to the training. He's like, you guys just run there, because we were originally going to have you, like, slide down there and then fight golems. But the golems are probably destroyed since, she's knocked out when he looks at Pixie Bob. After that, Deku, he's like, Aizawa was like, what the hell is going on with you? He's like, Google Panther mating season, Aizawa Googles it, it's around this time. He's like, alright, what about that? Aizawa, and then, after that, like, after he says that, it all clicks into his head. He's like, Aizawa was like, why didn't you tell me, brat, And he's like, because you wouldn't have let me come here. He's like, of course I wouldn't have let you come here, yada. Like, they're arguing at this point. But, Deku, he's like, yeah, you're right, but there's an issue again. What do you mean? He's like, well, I've basically marked them in their mind now. Like, that's it. And he's like, what do you mean they're yours and you've marked them? He's like, they're mine. Like, I'm not giving up. He's like, what if they have a boyfriend? Which none of them do. He's like, well, I'll fight for them. Like, simple. I'll do what I can to get them, Their choice is their choice in the end, though, but they are mine until then. As I was like, well, damn. Keep every girl away, yada, yada, yada. But, after that, they head back, Everybody's, like, running there. Deku's not really doing that because they don't trust leaving Deku alone with the girls of Class 1A. Which, a few girls are talking about, like, how Deku just, like, absolutely demolished that kiss. Mina was like, I didn't expect that from Deku. Honestly, I thought he would be a bad kisser. Sue was like, honestly, same. Because, like, the girls are talking about it at this point. Momo's like, we need to focus. Like, we have, stuff to do. Basically, Mina's like, Momo, you were in the most danger. You got up close to him at the beginning. Momo realizes that, that could have been her. And she's like, damn it. Because, low-key, they all want Deku. But too bad for them. I'm not doing all of Class 1A as his fucking harem. Because that would be too fucking much. Alright? Even doing what the three Wild Pussycats are kind of too much. But I have plans on how to make that work. Don't worry. Basically, they wake up now. The other three, wild Pussycats. They wake up. They're looking around. They're like, what the hell happened? Yada, yada, yada. Then Aizawa explains the situation on what happened and how they're marked now. And, Ragdoll really is like, I didn't have a boyfriend to begin with. Pixie Bob was like, he looks nice enough, Mandelay's like, no, because, she has Koda, of course, So basically, like, she's like, at this point now the other two are trying to convince Mandelay. Because, like, I see Pixie Bob and Ragdoll actually going along with it more than I see Mandelay. Because I don't see Mandelay going along with it. So basically, they're talking with Mandelay. They're like, come on, yada, yada, yada. Don't you think it'll be fun? Plus, you don't even have a boyfriend, yada, yada. Deku hears don't even have a boyfriend. He's like, that saves me some fight. That's what he's thinking in his head. And he's like, what? I have to take care of Koda, yada, yada, yada. Deku hears about Koda. He's like, oh, Koda, that's good. That he's okay at least. Because he hasn't gotten to check on Koda for a little bit. Deku, he has an idea spark in his head, right? He's like, so you have to take care of a child, right? Mandalay, she's on guard because, she's like, yeah, what about it? He's like, what if the kid, likes me? Would you give me a chance then? Mandalay thinking, because Koda doesn't really show any kindness towards most people, she's thinking that this will be an easy fucking win, right? She's like, you know what, yeah, sure, Pixie Bob and Ragdoll are like, kid, you just messed up because Koda isn't gonna like you. Deku's like, I have a way, So after that, basically, Koda, they go over, right? Deku waits, in the end of the bus, right? So Mandalay walks out. She's like, hey, Koda, how are you? He's like, hey, Mandalay. Or would he say mom? I'd say he'd say mom at this point, because Deku did help him cope. He's like, hey, mom, yada, yada, yada. And then, Pixie Bob goes out, yada, yada, this and that, After that, Mandalay and Pixie Bob and Ragdoll are basically waiting on Deku to walk out just to see, Koda's reaction towards them. So Deku walks out, right? He walks up to Koda. He's like, hey, So Mandalay, obviously, because we'll say that the Class 1A got there before them, because I'm just making Class 1A stronger, I guess. They get that nut punch, Bakugo got that nut punch, not gonna lie. So, after that, basically Mandalay thought, yeah, this kid, he's not gonna be able to get Koda to like him. So after that, something unexpected happens. Koda hugs Deku. He's like, Mr. Big Panther, how are you? Deku's like, I'm doing good, kid. How about you? Pixie Bob, Ragdoll, and Mandalay and Tiger are confused. Aizawa, he's like, okay, because he doesn't really get it. And, basically, Tiger explains that Koda is, kind of cold-hearted to most, adults or teens or, anybody, really, except for some people his age. Basically, Pixie Bob and Ragdoll are like, how the hell, because, Koda still is kind of mean to them at times, but he's still kind of nice. Deku's like, so how have you been, kid? Yada, yada. They're talking, right? And Mandalay's like, hold up, Koda, why aren't you being, why aren't you, angry with this guy or mean with him? Koda's like, oh, because I know him already, Then, she looks at Deku. Deku has, this cheap grin on his face, right? Because he knows what he did. He basically used his knowing of Koda before as a weapon, After this, Pixie Bob, Ragdoll, and Tiger are laughing their asses off. And, they're laughing. God damn. They're laughing because, they know what Deku did. Deku used it. And, Mandalay's like, wait, what do you mean Mr. Big Panther Man, though? Deku's like, shit, I should probably tell you. Well, he doesn't say, shit, because, Koda's there. He's like, I should probably tell you. Basically, Tiger, he's like, The only person that Koda ever calls the Big Panther, man, is Deku just transforms into the Big Panther while Tiger is talking. And, he's behind Tiger, we'll say. Tiger turns around and Tiger sees the fucking Big Panther. And remember, that Big Panther has put horror in Tiger's heart. Because Tiger got, knocked the fuck out by that Panther at one point. He's like, so, yeah, that was me. Sorry. They get on guard now because they're like, what the hell, yada, yada, yada. Then Deku, de-transforms. He explains what happens about how he got abandoned, stuff like that. How he lived in the forest for a long time. Basically, Deku is, sitting down, and Koda hops on his back. And he's like, come on, let's go, let's go running around, yada, yada, yada. So Deku's like, alright, he turns into a panther, and then he runs off with Koda. Mandalay wanted to say something, but, she really couldn't because she was still processing everything. So by the time she realized, they were gone, it was already too late. Basically, at this point, now Ragdoll and Pixie Bop are basically talking to Mandalay, hey, he may be the Panther, but, you made a deal with him. And, she's like, I said I'd give him a chance. She runs off. After a while of running, basically Koda and Deku get back. They had a lot of fun. And I'm gonna go to another person's perspective right now. So we enter a bar, right? This is a little bit before the whole forest thing happened. We enter a bar, and Shigaraki Tomura is talking with his master. He's like, we have a few good hitters, but I think we could get more, Something to hold off the brats something to hold off the brats while the Nomu fights All Might. And, All For One's like, you are right. I have a guy that I know. I could probably get him to help. And then, Shigaraki's like, who is it, master? And, after that, he's like, he's a hired hand. He helps out anyone with the right price. Basically, he calls up Sho, because Sho is a hired hand. Basically, because Sho has a really powerful quirk. You thought he would just, be a side character. Nah. He's going to be a character. So basically, he gets called up. He teleports and he's like, what's up? What do you need? They explain, they're doing an attack on, on UA, yada, yada, yada. And Sho's like, alright, so how much are you paying me? They say a good amount of money, and, Sho's like, alright, because he knows Deku's there, so he knows, they're not really in danger, he knows that Deku is strong enough to, protect everyone if he needs to, but because he doesn't know how strong everyone else is, and he's thinking, since everyone is in a hero course, they're probably as strong, or, maybe a little bit weaker than Deku. Little does he know Deku is, exponentially stronger than everyone in his class, but that's not important right now. Deku, he basically, after that, not Deku, after that show, he's like, alright, so you want me to scout them out, what they're doing, yada yada. He's like, yeah, they're going to a forest, but, you should scout them. So basically, this entire time, Sho has been, tailing the bus, but, he's been, a cloud. Not gonna lie, he's just been a cloud in the sky, tailing the bus. They think that, that's just a cloud in the air. But if they really paid attention, they would realize that cloud has been there, the entire fucking time. So, Sho's basically, watching, right? And when Deku did, that stuff with Mandalay, Pixie Bob, and Ragdoll, he knew that it was Deku's mating season, and he was laughing his ass off. He couldn't fucking breathe. Because remember, Deku is, his brother. So, he couldn't fucking breathe. He was he was laughing so hard, he was planning on teasing Deku so much about this. Because, he likes messing with his brother. After that, Deku, Deku gets up, right? Because we're heading back to Deku, so he puts Koda down from his back. He starts talking to some people, right? Because now that he's marked a few people, he's his mating season kind of chilled out, but he's still if something happens, he can still mark another person. So, like, you know, that's what's happening there. So he still has to be careful. Basically, so then after that, he walks up to, like, Mandalay, you know, Pixie Bob, and, you know, and Ragdoll. They're talking, right? Deku walks up to them. They start talking. He's like, "Can you guys, you know, tell me something about yourselves? Yada yada yada. I want to be able to get to know you. This and that." Because, you know, Deku isn't, you know, he wasn't like smart, but, you know, Sho taught him a thing or two about a thing or two. So basically, he's trying to get to know them. Mandalay, you know, talks about herself a little bit. So does Pixie Bob and Ragdoll, and he realizes a few things, like, you know, Pixie Bob, she's very self-conscious about her age, which Deku doesn't really get. Then also Ragdoll is what's it called? And I'm going to be aging them down. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be aging them down. They're gonna be in like Deku will be in his like 20. He'll be like 18. And it wouldn't make sense for Ragdoll to be like self-conscious about her age at 20. We'll say that like we'll say that they're around the same age, because they probably went to the same UA class. So they're all around like 27. We'll say 27, because I still need Mandalay or Pixie Bob to still be a little bit self-conscious about her age. She thinks she's starting to get old, which Deku doesn't really get, you know. And Ragdoll, she's very outgoing and jumpy in personality, which he's like, alright. And he sees that Mandalay is pretty, you know, normal. You know, like, I don't really know how to describe Mandalay. She's very kind-hearted at most, like, you know. So he's like, alright, I kind of get, like, you know, the premise of everyone here, and I can work with that, right? So after that, Deku, he's like, alright, so let me, you know, get to know you guys. So after that, like, they're like, we have to teach people, though, so we'll talk to you later. Deku's like, alright, you know. He does training with Tiger. He's, honestly, it's not really, like, Tiger teaching him. It's more like him teaching Tiger, like, how to be more of a cat. He's like, yeah, you do this well, but, like, you need to do this and this. And, you know, Tiger's, like, absorbing all of this information, because Tiger's not gonna not take advice from Deku, because Deku has knocked him the fuck out, remember? So, after that, basically, Tiger and, Deku and Tiger, they're heading back, right? And Deku smells like food. So he immediately rushes over, and he starts eating, because Deku's just like that. And, now we'll skip to the attack. Fuck it. So now it's late, right? And, if you're wondering where All Might is, All Might, he's like in, we'll say that this time the woods have, like, this little shack area, right? Like, deep in the woods, right? Like, way deep in the woods. And, basically, they have All Might there on standby. It's not like a shitty shack either. It has full internet, shit like that. Like, All Might's in, like, cloud. Like, you know, he's in his vacation house right now. So, you know, like, that's where All Might is. He's not too far, but, like, it'll take him about the same amount of time that it took him in canon to get there. Right? So, after that, Deku, you know, he's with, we'll say, Tokiyami and Sue, because they're still his friends. So, basically, he's talking to them, right? Oh, God, it's getting loud outside. He's talking with them, and, like, basically, after that, like, they see, like, Deku, like, has this weird feeling that something's about to happen, like, this sixth sense. So, like, he looks over, and he sees, like, this, like, weird shadow portal thing opening. And he's like, what the hell? Let me check something. What are we at right now? 26 minutes. Alright, we can push this a little bit longer. So Deku sees the shadow portal, like, opening, and he's like, what the actual fuck? You know, basically, like, he basically immediately grabs Sue and, like, and Tokiyami. Because right now his danger senses are outbeating his horniness. That's why he's not, like, just destroying, like, you know, Sue's tongue right now. Which, could he? Like, actually, though? Alright, yeah. The danger is outdoing his horniness. We'll just say that. So he's running, and he gets to Aizawa. He's like, yeah, there's villains attacking, like, right now. And Aizawa's like, ah, shit, you know, here we go again. But he, he heads out to fight him. He basically has like, would Aizawa have more? Yeah, Aizawa, it would be better for Aizawa in the forest because he has more like room to jump around and shit. So Aizawa is like putting in even better hands than he did like in canon. And then after that, like, basically All Might was like contacted by Mandalay through psychic like means because Mandalay was informed, right? And immediately like Koda was put into like a building, right, with a few other Class 1A. Like everybody who was in Class 1A who was close by are like in the building, right? And since Mandalay like is Koda's mother, Deku sees Koda as his, pup. So he's like, is Koda safe, yada yada yada. Mandalay says yes, of course. She's happy that Deku is, that worried for Koda. That means that, he might be worthy, he might be worth it. So, but like, she's like, I can't focus on that right now. We have villains attacking. So after that, Deku, like, he transforms into full Panther, and, he says, get on my back and I'll get you there. Yada, yada, yada. Because, he's the fastest means there, because he's faster than Ida. So after that, they head over, they get to Aizawa. Aizawa's still, like, putting in hands, but at this point, what's it called? The Nomu just came out and started beating up Aizawa. Since Tiger and Deku are there, they basically, like, both hit the Nomu. It's not sent back, but, like, it moves back, like, a little bit. And, they're fighting the Nomu. And they're not doing awful. Like, basically, like, Deku's dodging, like, all of the Nomu's attacks. And so is, like, Tiger. Then Deku, like, basically, like, gets on the Nomu's back and starts scratching him up. And he sees that the Nomu is regenerating, like, pretty fast. He's like, yeah, this thing's regenerating really fast. He has like this weird feeling of danger around the Nomu, like it's not supposed to be there, like it's like something. He basically like shouts out at Shigaraki, like, what the hell is this thing? It doesn't even seem human, yada yada yada. Shigaraki's like, ha, the Nomu, he was made to kill All Might. You can't beat him. He has shock absorption and regeneration. Basically Deku, he he hears shock absorption and regeneration, but he's like, but does it have like, does it have blade, resistance and stuff like that? That's what he's thinking. So he sharpens up his claws a bit more. He gets his fangs out. He's scratching up the Nomu and biting it, and stuff like that. And at this point, now he's on the Nomu's back. He became the big tiger, and he just bites on like the Nomu's arm and rips it off. Because he said it was made to kill All Might, so he assumes, like, it was made, so it's not fucking human. So he's like, ripping through the fucking Nomu at this point, and All Might shows up, and he's like, I've got this, yada, yada, yada. Deku hops off the Nomu, All Might starts fighting it, and All Might is, like, doing way better, because Aizawa's not as hurt, so he's, like, looking at the Nomu. So he's erasing the regeneration. Not really the shock absorption, though, we'll say, just so All Might doesn't beat him that easily. Because, and then All Might's just beating the shit out of the Nomu. Basically, he handles the Nomu much easier than he would in canon. But also, while this all is happening, like, before he can really do the final hit, he gets hit by, like, a blast of smoke, right? And he's like, what the hell? He looks around, and, like, everything's fucking, like, he's like, damn, like, because he just got hit with that good shit. They can't. He's like, he just got hit with that good shit. They look over. Deku's like, show? Like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, yeah, sorry, they paid me for this. And basically, the Nomu's about to, like, hit All Might. Deku pushes the All Might out of the way, and he dodges the hit. Show basically, like, he's like, so, did I do good? Like, is that all you needed me for? Like, Shigaraki's like, now that All Might's knocked out, we don't need you, thanks, You already have your payment, you can leave now, because Shigaraki dumb like that. He's like, alright, sure, because, he basically knew that Shigaraki was that dumb, and he didn't really feel like fighting with them at the moment. So he just dips out in a cloud of smoke, in a puff of smoke. And now it's Deku versus Nomu, because All Might can't do shit right now. He's like, he's on that good shit, he's on... Like, All Might, he can't even, like, think straight. He's like, god damn, like, he's having them shower thoughts right now. He's like, if money is the root of all evil, why do churches ask for it? Like, you know, like, that's the shit that he's on right now. So, basically, like, Deku, he's soloing the Nomu right now, because, like, Tiger got hit, and he's kind of knocked out. Mandalade and, you know, Mandalade and Pixie Bob aren't really built for combat like this. And so, neither is, what's it called? What's her name? Ragdoll. Yeah, neither is Ragdoll. So basically, like, you know, they're standing back, right? You know, no. Then after that, Shigaraki's like, Nomu, kill them, yada yada yada. And Aizawa was still hurt, so he can't really do shit. So Nomu runs at, you know, the Wild Pussycats. Deku immediately, you know, blocks that shit. Like, you know how I forgot what it was called. I forgot what happened. Yeah, it was basically like Deku just, like, catches a punch. And, you know, he's pissed now because they went after his mate. So he goes into, like, you know, this basically, like, Berserker mode, right? He goes full Panther. You know, he's ripping through the Nomu at this point. Like, he's ripping off its arms. He's, like, biting it. He's, like, taking off its head. At this point, like, he's just destroying the Nomu, right? And he's, like, ripping it, like, apart. Nomu's regeneration can't, like, keep up at this point. You know, then finally he just rips off the Nomu's head, and, you know, that, like, the Nomu is about to regenerate, like, its neck is about to regenerate, and he just stabs its brain, and it's dead. You know, he looks over to Shigaraki and immediately runs over there. Then, like, you know, after that, Kurogiri, like, portals Shigaraki away and just portals away as well. He leaves everyone else, because why do they need them? And, you know, basically, Deku is still, like, a little bit berserker, so he's looking around, and, you know, he sees a few villains, and he's, like, legit about to kill them. Basically, that is until, like, Mandalade, Pixie Bob, and Ragdoll both all grab onto him. You know, Deku chills out, you know, he's chill. The villains, they gave up, because they saw what he did to the Nomu, and they're like, nah, I give up, you win. Like, you know, they just, like, literally get on the ground, put their hands behind their back, and they're just ready to get arrested. So basically, Deku, you know, he like, gets knocked out, because he went into a berserker state for the first time. And after that, you know, they arrest everybody else, and all that stuff happens. Deku wakes up after, like, an hour. He's like, what happened? Yada, yada, yada. And, like, All Might's like, do you remember what you... Like, actually, no, All Might's still on that good shit right now. Because that shit hit different. But, what's it called? Aizawa's, like, he's a little bit hurt, but he's not nearly as hurt as bad as in canon. He probably has, like, a broken leg or something. And they're both in, like, the hospital. I was like, do you remember what you did to, like, that, like, Nomu thing? And he's like, no, I remember it went to hit them, and then all I remember is red. Aizawa explains, like, yeah, you went, like, berserker. Like, you know, Deku went, like, feral. Like, that's what I'm gonna call it, his feral mode. And, you know, he basically, like, was, like, on, like, a mass murder spree with the Nomu. If there was any more, he probably would have killed more people if they didn't stop him. So he's like, oh, damn, I didn't think I could do that anymore. Because that's how he killed the wolf originally. Like, the first wolf that attacked him, that's how he killed it. He went to a feral mode, right? So, after that, Deku, he's like, alright, well, sorry about that, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. I was like, it's fine, don't worry, you know, it wasn't alive. Plus, it attacked, like, you know, it attacked you and them first. And I thought he gives a smirky, you know, and he was like, yeah, and it attacks your ladies as well, apparently, you know. You know, Deku's like, haha, yeah, funny, alright, because, you know, he's kind of friends with Aizawa. Basically, he's like, I need to talk to Sho, like, you know. Aizawa's like, yeah, speaking of Sho, the villains had hired him, so probably UA will hire him as well. And they're like, he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, he does kind of owe Nezu some favors, and, you know, basically, he's like, yeah, Sho can't dip on favors. So, he's laughing. After that, you know, he walks out of the, like, room, and, you know, like, what, like, you know, the three wild Pussycats, they're like, oh, are you okay, yada, 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 you know. Basically, like, Mandalay's, like, checking him up and down, right? And Deku's like, eager, aren't we? You know, like that. He's like, eager, aren't we? And, you know, Mandalay backs up, you know, she's blushing. She's like, shut up, yada, yada, yada. Koda's there, too. He's like, I was worried for you, yada, yada, yada. You know, he hugs Deku. Of course, Deku hugs him, too. So he's like, so how are you, doing, yada, 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 this and that. Koda's like, I'm fine, what about you? And, he looks over to the other three, and he's like, yeah, I'm good. And, he's like, how are you three doing? And they're like, yeah, we're fine, only, like, a few scratches and bruises, that's about it. Deku's like, that's good, yada, yada, yada. Basically, Mandalay's like, why would you fight that thing alone? And what happened, yada, yada, yada. Deku's like, you're throwing a lot of questions at me. And she chills out a little bit. Deku's like, to begin with, I don't know what happened to me. I blacked out after I caught that punch. Because he did catch that punch on purpose. So after that, they're like, they stop pestering him. And, Deku heads home and Sho's there. He's like, hey, sorry. Deku's like, yeah, by the way, Nezu wants to talk to you. Sho's like, I know he does. After that, we'll time skip to the next day. Deku gets there with Sho, and Sho, he, All Might still on that good shit. Basically, for one, Nezu's like, so, how long will All Might be, like that? And, All Might's thinking, like, if the world is flat, how come Australia hasn't fallen? If the world is circular, how come Australia hasn't fallen? He's on that shit. So he's like, that should be around 2 more days, because, I didn't know how much could knock out All Might, so I just put, everything into it. And for a normal person, it's normally 2 days, so, yeah, probably will be 2 days for him. Aizawa was laughing his ass off because he's like, All Might, do you think you're a good hero? He's like, no, I don't even think I'm worthy. Because, All Might's on that good shit, so he doesn't know what he's saying. He's like, I don't even think I'm worthy of this power. Honestly, Aizawa, you probably would be way better for it. Basically, patting Aizawa on the back. Aizawa's laughing his ass off. And, Deku, Nezu, he's like, one more thing, Sho. Remember how you owe me a favor? Sho's like, wait, when did I owe you a favor? He's like, you remember how you got into that trouble and then you owed me that favor? Sho remembers now, and he's like, shit, yeah, what about it? He's like, you're going to be a teacher here, Sho's like, wait, what? Because, why do I have to be a teacher for these brats? He's like, because you owe me. Plus, having you around would be useful. Since we had this attack, we've had, we realized that we need more helping hands. That's why not only you, but the Wild Wild Pussycats will be joining us as, new staff members of UA. Deku hears that the Wild Wild Pussycats are joining, and he's excited, he's happy. Basically he's like, Sho's like, fine, you win. And he's like, oh, speaking of, the Wild Wild Pussycats, I saw, he starts teasing Deku about, what he saw. And Deku's like, yeah, kind of a lady killer. And he walks out. And Sho is surprised that Deku would say this. Because Deku just said it just to mess with Sho. And Sho's like, damn, I taught him so well. That's how he thinks. I'm so proud. And, he's crying. And, after that, Jesus Christ. After that, Deku, he heads home, and, he goes to sleep, and, that's where I'm gonna leave it off. I wanted to get you guys this part. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please, alright? I know, I'm simping for you guys, alright, please. And, I'm gonna try to post another video today just to make it up to you guys, hopefully. What should I post today? Should I post a new what if? I've been thinking about a few what ifs. I haven't even posted my 3K special. I should probably do that. Ooh. Alright. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.